Okay, we're live, and we've got some people here. Hello, Lynn.
Hello.
Mihaw's here too. Annie and SC Franca. Hi. Okay, cool. So, which one of you guys are have been following Emily for some time now? Okay, I guess we'll just wait for the comments to. Oh, hello. Hello. All right, cool. It's turning out to be it's turning out really well.
Good.
Yeah. Okay, so hello, Emma. Okay, so I guess let's wait for the signal from Ivona, and we can begin in earnest. Yeah. So meanwhile, how was your? I forgot that. Like, is being like, does your work involve having to commute to some office, or do you get to do it all at home?
Most of my work that I'm doing at the moment is all freelance work.
Yeah.
A full-time job at the same time, so I'm kind of juggling both of them. But I was working as a medical artist, so illustration and animation, for a few years in the university that I graduated from, the University of Dundee. So I was there for a couple of years doing that, but it was quite a commute going up and down, so I decided to settle where I was living.
That's cool. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Thanks, Dominic. We are public. That is the plan. But thanks. Just no, but it's because so we did a stream recently, and we ran a test, and it was maybe like our first ever talk show kind of stream. And so Ivona and I were talking for minutes, and without knowing that we were broadcasting live, and it was Dominic that let us know. So thanks again for that, man. Yeah, not this time. This time it's deliberate. Yeah. So yeah. Okay. So we got 14 viewers. I think now would be a good time to start.
Great.
Yeah. Okay. So welcome everyone to our live stream. Yeah, timely question, Dominic. We're doing a live stream with Emily McDougall, who's a medical illustrator and animator and fine artist. I mean that in all senses of the word. So yeah, that's what tonight's going to be about. So yeah, thanks for dropping by. If you have any questions, if you work in the same industry, or if you're a 3D freelancer, interested about this line of work, or a student maybe, then we're basically here to help explain this field and answer any questions. Well, Emily will at least answer any questions about being a medical illustrator and animator. So yeah, feel free to ask questions, and we'll try to answer them as promptly as we can. So before we start, one thing I wanted to say was, so let's have a show of hands first. Which of virtual hands, at least, which of you watching now are work with 3D? So yeah, so guys, if there's anyone watching that does 3D already, I don't know, hit the like button or say something in the comments. Mm-hmm. Okay, so maybe not very many, maybe none at all. Oh, cool. Okay, so Annie's one. Okay, so that's for Annie's sake, and anyone else who might, who might chime in at some point. For attending the stream, we're gonna help you guys out with your rendering too. So if you guys ever want to try Render Farm out, you're welcome to try us out. Yeah, and no, it was pretty clear. SC Franca says, I'm a graphic designer. I make 2D animations for some private clinics in my country. Cool. I would like to move on into 3D soon, and I'm getting into Cinema 4D. Super cool, because yeah, we're gonna help you guys out with some bonus credits on our farm. Okay, so to avail of that after the stream, just message us at GarageFarm with your email, and then we'll help you set things up from there. Okay, so yeah, hit us a message after the stream if you're interested in trying out our farm and enjoying some, like a hefty amount of bonus rendering credits. Okay, so now that that's out of the way, I think yeah, I think we can start now.
Great.
Okay, so the first thing I wanted to, okay, I'm sorry, wait, let's answer. Love the color of your hair. Yeah, it's a really cool.
Thank you.
I say the same thing. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, you're welcome, Annie. Munir says we make animations and short scientific documentaries. Got a molecular biologist. What's up, Alex? Okay, cool. So already there are some questions, so I think let's answer those first, and then yeah, we'll go on with my questions from there. Okay, so first, SC says, hi, Emily, I'm a graphic designer. I make 2D animations for some private clinics in my country. I would like to move on into 3D soon, and I'm getting into Cinema 4D. Okay, so I guess that wasn't really a question, but that's cool. And I know for a fact that Cinema 4D is like really great for elements that you might find in molecular biological animations. Like I'd say, if it wasn't Mesh for Maya, yeah, Cinema 4D would probably do a pretty good job of doing some 3D MoGraph. Do you have any thoughts about that, Emily?
Yeah, I think definitely Cinema 4D is one of the really popular ones for everyone in the kind of field. The reason I what I was taught or introduced to in my undergraduate, in my postgraduate. So I started on that, and I think because I was coming from not having any experience in 3D, then I just kind of stuck with the first one that I was taught and really kind of got into it. And then as soon as MASH came out, then I got like really heavily into it, and I was like, oh, it's now got the capabilities that, fair enough, Cinema 4D's had for quite a long time, but yeah, now at least I know that I can start doing these things and rendering in the same way that I'm used to doing and everything. So
yeah,
I think I think everyone kind of falls into a 3D program and then they just stick with it. So I don't think there's particularly one that's outstanding to another, because I know people who make amazing stuff in Maya and people who make amazing stuff in Cinema 4D as well. So it just, I guess, depends on what you start out with, what you decide to put your time and money in.
Yeah, for sure. Besides, like, you know, the costs of most of that software, would definitely, like, I mean, I I'd probably, stick to one as well. Yeah. Okay, so I hope that gives you some information you need, and then feel free to ask any more questions if you have any. Munir says, we make animations and short scientific documentaries, and they work with Cinema 4D, among other software. So that's cool. Alex is a molecular biologist, and he asks, do you have any opinion on the available universities? So currently, he remembers there being some in Chicago, Toronto, Glasgow, Dundee, which you've been, Liverpool, and Zuid. I hope I pronounced that right. Okay. So yeah, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think choosing a school to go to is probably one of the hardest things to do. I went to Dundee University, mainly because I'm from Scotland, so that was quite an easy choice for me, quite local. But I know that certainly the Toronto one is it's a harder one to get into. I think it's quite a competitive application system and everything, and I think they've got very specific requirements for you when you're applying, whereas some of them are slightly different. So with the Dundee one and the Glasgow and Liverpool one, I know they go more on a kind of fine art portfolio, and also kind of like a general interest in obviously anatomy and biology and stuff. So I know that for applying to Dundee, the focus was on your undergraduate degree and getting a 2-1 in that. And then from that, you had to have a really strong portfolio and just examples of being able to draw from life and just having the technical skills for being into the illustration, I guess.
Oh, wow.
And then the Glasgow one, I know that they're a little bit more technology based, so they work a lot more with developing stuff that maybe goes into apps, and working with Unity and things like that, using CT data and stuff. So, and I know that the Liverpool one, which is the art and science one, they've got a very much a mix of science and art. So it's not specifically going straight into like medical illustration and animation. It's more kind of looking at art and science and how they kind of can collaborate and combine to make different ways of engaging the public. So they're the ones that I know the most about. But I know that there's one, the Chicago, Toronto, and I think there's also one in New York as well. So yeah, it just depends on where you want to go, and I guess the cost of fees and entry requirements. But it's just
wow.
Yeah.
So I that's something I've been curious about myself. I mean, let's say, so I'm guessing you began as a fine artist, right?
Yeah.
And then you so you took an interest in making content for the medical industry, and how did you was it straight to uni after that, or was there any sort of transitionary period where you maybe began with some loosely medical projects and then slowly
So in my painting degree, towards the end of it, I got really interested in anatomy and the history of art and anatomy, and how they kind of went hand in hand at one point in time, and how artists were the medium for people to actually tell people about the human body and all the discoveries that were happening. It was the only way to kind of visualize all the unseen things going on beneath the skin. So I got really interested in that, and I guess the development of that over time. So it kind of translated into my fine art quite a lot. And then when I was doing that, I was working a lot with the anatomy department at the University of Edinburgh. That's where I studied. And they kind of said to me while I was in there drawing, oh, there's someone who's looking for an illustration on this and that.
Oh, cool.
Okay. And then I started trying to do it, and it was really hard, mainly because I knew
Yeah, I
what
can imagine.
like in my head, and because I'm a painter, and I did lots of like oil painting stuff. It was like trying to like then work out, right, number one, how do I become like more of a digital illustrator, and then
Yeah.
also I don't know the anatomy, like I don't actually know what's going on. So I think that's when I kind of had the realization that I actually do want to do this. This is definitely what I want to do, but first of all, I need to actually know anatomy and kind of understand what's going on. Or I'm just going to keep getting an illustration sent back to me going, no, you're still not right. This is completely incorrect. And also, I wanted to learn the kind of digital skills as well. Started off with like Photoshop, digital painting and stuff, and that I need to focus on and get really good at, because my first project that I'm talking about, I just did a kind of like pencil drawing with like watercolor and then tried to scan it in and make it look tidier, and it was just nothing I look back on and like really like. But I think now, like looking back on that and how much I've learned since then, I'm like, oh, like it's completely different once you dedicate yourself to doing it. Then
yeah, no, that's amazing. I mean, if I can't imagine what it would be like, for example, having to. I mean, I know it's not that far-fetched. Like, I'm sure there are commissions for work in traditional medium, but I mean, the absence of Control Z and yeah, you know, waiting for things to dry and things like that.
I'll sit and I'll do a drawing like on a piece of paper, and then I'll be like trying to Control Z my piece of paper. I'm like, oh no,
yeah.
in my brain, and now I just think everything's a computer.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, I think there's still a lot of medical illustrators who work really beautifully in traditional mediums as well, and I just don't understand how they do it, because I'm quite a messy person when it comes to kind of like physically creating stuff. So there's an amazing technique in people who can do the traditional like.
Yeah, for sure. No, I'd say I mean, that's where the fun is. Yeah, like being messy with traditional medium is, well, it's just I've always thought it was a part of it, actually. So you know. Okay, so this is gonna. I think I'm just gonna run through the other questions, and then maybe we can go back to a bit of everything after. So, okay, what's it like to work with medics being an artist? Yeah, so I think that kind of, if I could just add to this question, I think that yeah, there is this, like, I've always my initial conception of this of medical illustrators was that you're primarily artists, and you work with medical practitioners who kind of explain the science aspect, and then it's up to you to kind of make a rendition of that that's kind of accessible to everyone, but also has that artistic flair. But obviously, that's not the case, right? You are in the Dundee University, like your experience in Dundee wasn't just like honing the arts. Like I'm guessing you took some units in microbiology, maybe. Or...
Yeah, the first main semester, we were taught alongside the anatomy students. So we started off with the anatomy of the head and neck, and then we did kind of the rest of the body. And that included going into dissection labs and also sitting formal anatomy exams in the same setup as the anatomy students. So it's definitely, I think that's been one of the most beneficial things out of going to kind of postgraduate study specifically in this area, was that it gave me that time to like really force myself to learn all these things and not just kind of do it slowly as I was going along. And I think because a lot of people come from different backgrounds when they go into medical illustration and animation, so a lot of people will come into any of these courses and and some of them might come from a science background. So I had a friend who did biochemistry, a friend who went into it coming from who was studying neurology and stuff. So it's just a case of people who are really scientific can come in with an artistic flair, and I guess that's a great benefit because they know about, they've got the foundations of kind of biology, chemistry, and they're quite comfortable with all that, and they're maybe not so comfortable with the art side, whereas on the other side, people with an art background will come in like myself and kind of have a really good idea of the techniques, color, composition, but will be more terrified of the science side. So it's kind of, it's good to have, it's quite a close knit community as well. So you'll have friends and kind of know, oh, I'll go and ask this person about that because I know that they're like really good at that. And it's like back to me asking for art advice. So it's kind of like, oh, what do you think about the composition or the color of this? And I'll be like, can you help me with, I don't know what this molecule does or something.
Wow.
I think definitely the most important part I think about the field is having that kind of scientific accuracy, and also having the even like a basic foundation of kind of biology and or like biochemistry and anatomy, and just having that kind of basic knowledge so that when you are approached by clients, you can understand it. Because I think a lot of times doctors and surgeons can think in a certain way and they're used to thinking in that way.
Right.
They'll kind of approach you and just speak as they would to their colleagues, and you can just go, I don't know what you're saying completely. Or I find it's been easy, they'll tell me what they want labelled, and I already know where those labels are to go because I've had the training in it, or I can know exactly where to look up in my textbooks or stuff because I know kind of what they're talking about, rather than just staring at them with a blank face and being so.
Wow, that's amazing. I mean, how long are the courses in the university? Like, how long was your?
So the Dundee one was only a year's course. I know that the Toronto one is 2 years, I believe, and the Liverpool one is a year, and I think the Glasgow one is also a year. I'm not quite sure about the other American ones.
I see.
But I think the American ones tend to be a couple of years at least. But I think most of the UK ones are just a year.
Wow. And so going back to what you were saying earlier, you'd be eligible if, for example, you were very you had taken like you have a medical degree maybe, but you're not really, and then they'll teach you the art side of things. Really? Wow. So
we've got,
that's cool.
Yeah, I've had a couple of friends in my year, and they came from actually being doctors or like medics, and then they had a strong enough portfolio that they showed enough like promise in the like drawing skills and that.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Continue into it. So I think certainly with the Dundee one, it's a case of having a really strong portfolio and just like showing that you've got passion for art and something really you're really into it. And then I think that's kind of shines through, I think, in people's portfolios. So yeah, I think
it's amazing.
That's
and and do they apart from like when you're there, they teach you traditional these things working with traditional medium, but and then there's also and then they teach you digital painting and some 3D rendering as well.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it starts off with kind of, in my course, it was a case of doing life drawing. We'd have like life drawing once a week. So as you can imagine, everyone sitting around with like easels drawing, drawing people in different poses and stuff. And then we'd get an introduction to, because it's such a vast field, it's hard to condense it all into a year. So a lot of it was introducing us to all the kind of softwares that you'll use a lot. So like Photoshop for digital painting and stuff, and Adobe Illustrator for vector drawings, and then we did Maya and ZBrush or ZBrush, however you want to say, and also they now do Keyshot as well, and also just a bit of an introduction to like After Effects and Premiere Pro. So it's just like all the little
Wow.
tools that you need to kind of get your mind going and kind of know where to go. And then in the final semester, that's kind of your end of year project. So then you have a 3 months where you kind of decide on what your big project is, what you're really wanting to focus on. So some people will focus on illustration completely. Some people will focus on really trying to learn as much 3D as possible and like come up with like a 5-minute 3D animation at the end of it. So it's just it allows you to kind of choose which path you want to go in to begin with, and then you can kind of dedicate your time to it and spend all your learning it.
Yeah. No, but then you come out of that being extremely versatile. I mean, you could, I'm sure, for example, projects you've had to work on span everything from external anatomy, like maybe the muscular system, or even I mean, I don't know, but is that the case? Like, do you work on projects that sometimes are like, have you found yourself having to make a microbiological animation for one client, and then for another, I don't know, maybe draw an organ or
there's such a wide range of things that you can do. I did one project which was kind of a 3D project, but it was overlaying over a video that was already there, so it was trying to like mapping like an organ onto like the body as it was like moving and stuff. And the flip side, you can get asked to do just something as simple as just a basic nice line diagram for like a scientific journal publication or something. So there's a lot of different applications for the work. It can be used for the general public, or so you can think about with medical animation. If you think about like popular crime dramas or like medical dramas or things like that, they always have camera going into the body and all stuff going on underneath the skin. Or you can also have it for teaching purposes, for training people who are wanting to become surgeons or doctors, or for describing a new technique. Or you can have it for patient communication, which is really important because a lot of the time people are going through procedures that are happening inside their body, and they're going under anesthetic and they're waking up and something's happened to them. They fully, I guess, consent and get a full understanding of what they're going to be going through. I think an amazing form of that is medical animation, and it's something that can be used throughout the world, and you can just kind of translate it and people will understand it. I guess that's why I like the animation side of it so much.
Yeah, that's true. Like, it's a great way to put people at ease. Like pre-op for patients. Okay. Annie asks, do you have any? So are there any advice for students who are looking to apply to one of these programs?
I guess I know that some people might want to take time out if they have come, especially from a science degree, it might be worth enrolling in some sort of art class just to build up a portfolio of some sort, whether that be night class or you kind of do a year of art classes to build it up, or if you've always enjoyed art and you've always enjoyed drawing. I think the main thing is to have a portfolio that shows strong drawing skills and lots of observational drawing, because I think it's just a really good skill to have in general for anything art related. But I think for this, you might find yourself in situations that you need to be able to just quickly sketch something, go back to your notes and reflect on them, and then work up something. So for example, with surgical illustration, during the Dundee course that I did, we did observation of surgeries, and during that time we would go and watch a surgery, and we would just take sketch notes to ourselves, and we would just try and work out exactly what was happening, just be able to quickly put down on paper what we were seeing in front of us, and then going back and working on them later and working up a full illustration. So I think being able to just work on your drawing skills and make sure that you're comfortable enough with your own style, I guess, that you're happy to proceed.
Okay, cool. So Essie asks again, so we talked about this a bit a while ago, but yeah, can you talk a bit more about how you transitioned from being an artist to get into clinical animation? So like maybe was there any experience in particular that really like made you aware of how fascinated you were with with, like you said, what happens under the skin? And
Yeah, I think my overall interest in anatomy came from the fact that I kind of became aware of it, and then I found this old anatomy textbook and I was looking through it, and I was like, I have no idea what any of this is. Like, I've got absolutely no idea. And then I just kind of thinking, yeah, but that's inside me as well. I can't name it and I don't know what that is. So I think when I was doing my fine art, that was kind of like what I was like playing on. It was the fact that people don't know what these structures are, and it was looking at how the public interact, how the public react and think about their own kind of bodies and mortality and stuff like that. And then from there, I heard about the master's degree in Dundee, and pretty much everyone who knew me was like, yeah, you're going to go and do that next, because that's like just what you need to do. Because the reading through the course outline and everything, it was just exactly what I was interested in and wanted to go into. And then when I got into it, I was going into it more with wanting to work on my illustration skills and everything. But I think because more as time went on with it and we started getting introduced to some of the 3D software, I just became really fascinated, because I've always liked playing with computers and just like playing with programs and trying to work out how to use them. So I think it was like another big milestone. I was like, this is a really hard thing to do, and now I really want to know how to do it. And it was like, once I started, I was like, oh, I just made that. Looking back, it looks terrible, but like at the time I was like, oh, it looks pretty cool. And I just kind of kept going. And I think that's just what I think, because animation and 3D work, you can make such amazing stuff, and there are like amazing 3D artists out there, but you just go, how? And I think you just constantly got that inspiration to just keep trying to get better and better at it. So I think that's just, I just started on it and just became completely obsessed with trying to learn it.
So would you say that like is this something that you've or maybe how often do you find yourself working with non-3D mediums lately?
I'd say at the moment, because it's not part of my everyday work at the moment, it's mainly, well, it's mostly 2D stuff, because it's quite a quick turnaround for illustration.
Right.
And then, but when I think there's a big market for it in different industries for the 3D, for people to actually have in-house animators and illustrators. So when I graduated, I went straight into work at Dundee University as their medical art learning technologist in the dental school. So when I was there, I was developing educational resources for the dental students so that they could learn kind of basic anatomy and different techniques that they'd be using as they were training, just to help them along with their actual physical teaching. Because a lot of the time, especially with dentistry, it was a case of we were just looking at the mouth and trying to visualize everything that was going on underneath it, because there's so much head and neck. So it was a case of, there was a lot of animation with that, because it was the perfect setting for it to happen, I guess, because everything lent itself to animation rather than just in a textbook. I think that's the great thing about using that, especially in education, is that people are used to seeing everything flat in a textbook, and then as soon as you
Yeah,
make it 3D, even if it's just into a 3D model on Sketchfab or something like that, it's instant.
yeah,
You can get a completely better understanding of it. So
yeah, for sure. Um, I'd say at least that um, the yeah, I've never really before working with 3D. Uh, I've never really approached any kind of mm, illustration or drawing from a form standpoint. It was always kind of just working with points of reference and things like that. But then, yeah, 3D just kind of opens a different. So I mean, uh, yeah, like if in a if working in a visual medium, you get that kind of like perspective shift from working with 3D. Then yeah, it's um, I can't imagine how much more eye-opening it'd be for a patient or someone just trying to better visualize something that that they don't normally always see.
yeah, definitely.
Um, yeah, in 3D. Okay. Uh, yeah. So Annie, sorry, Jamie says. So I guess Jamie's been to Dundee as well.
Yeah, he was in my year.
Oh,
Yeah,
cool, cool. So you guys know each other.
yeah, we
Nice.
do.
Uh, okay, Alex says, great insight. Thank you. Have you ever worked with real life data? Yeah, from the protein data bank. What software or plugin did you use, and how difficult is it for a person with a classic arts background to cope with scientific issues?
So to answer the first question with the human data, so a lot of the time we'll use CT data for reference. So with a CT data from a patient, and then through those files you can then visualize it in 3D, and then from there, using different softwares, you can take those files, they're called DICOM files, and convert them into like an STL 3D format, and then work up those models in ZBrush or whatever, so that you know that what you've created is based on, I guess, real human data. Because I think that's the hard thing, is making sure everything's in proportion and everything fits together as it should. So I think a lot of the time we we do work from real person data. And then I think you also mentioned the protein data bank, which is a big a big data bank online. I think it's RCSB's protein data bank, and they've got loads of different molecules and protein structures and everything on there. Um, and you can go on there um, and download the files into 3D format. I'm just going to double check what program I use because it slipped my mind. um, but I'll find it in a minute. Yeah. So the program that I use to get the protein data bank data out of it is called Chimera, Chimera. So on that, with that, you download their program and then you go into the data bank, you get the code, and then you can pop it in, and then you'll be able to download the 3D molecule from that. And it's really good because it's all of these structures, like virus structures, are all very complicated and they're all fit together in a very specific way. So it's not something that you could easily model. So having the protein data bank as a resource is like a completely great great thing to have, and you know that it's accurate as well. So
That's amazing.
a lot of molecular animations and stuff. kind of see a lot of those models are probably taken from the protein data bank and kind of adapted.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, I was wondering about that. Like, because yeah, if I'm sure like, yeah, microbiological animations would need to like accurately, represent whatever it is going on in in that particular the part of the body, I suppose. Mm-hmm. So I was going to ask actually if your Maya tutorials in YouTube are if the assets were taken from that bank, or if they were. So they were, or
no, not for the ones that are on YouTube. No, they've all just been modeled.
Oh, yeah. Cool.
So the protein data bank, most of what they have, it's really good for. I use it mainly for virus structures. So you could, if you were doing an animation on HIV and you needed to have the virus structure for that.
Oh, okay.
The shape, you would just go on and be able to get the accurate representation of that. But for things like red blood cells or like big cells or different things, or DNA or things that I've kind of covered in those tutorials, they're all just modeled.
Oh, cool. Yeah. So so be patient with me if you guys, like the medical guys here. If I come off asking really like stupid questions, yeah, because I have no idea what. Jamie says doctors with art portfolios or artists with medical art portfolios. I guess either one will do, right?
Very much, yeah.
Yeah, cool. Christoph asks, I'm curious about what informs the prediction from the trailer concerning the growing and ballooning visualization industry. Are you looking at augmented reality or virtual reality specifically?
There's definitely a huge market for both, and I know that the AR market at the moment is kind of booming a lot, and there are companies. There's an app called 3D for Medical, and they've got their app which has got they've got lots of anatomy, got like a full human body that you can go through, and it's also animated as well. I know that they have an AR function as well, so that you can start kind of like seeing it in kind of like in a scale, kind of like real life setting as well.
Yeah.
I know that all that kind of industry is going a bit crazy at the moment, especially with I know there's a lot of people looking into it from a surgical training perspective and stuff. It's a big exciting industry, but it's not something that I've specifically kind of delved into yet.
Cool. Is it something that's been was it touched on in the curriculum of at Dundee, or?
I think now there's definitely more stuff happening. I graduated in 2014, and I know that so much has happened since then, and I still know of the students now, and some of them are going on to do stuff to do with AR things, and some of them are doing that more for their final projects and stuff. And I kind of want to go back and do it all again, and just feel like every year the technology comes on, you're just looking, going, "Oh, I want to do that now." But
that's true. Yeah. I'm honestly still reeling from like the Oculus Rift and all of that, all of that new VR stuff that's happening. It's crazy. Yeah.
It is crazy.
Kirsten says, "Hi, I'm just." So she just arrived. She just arrived. I don't know if you've already talked about this, but do you have any advice for people who can't enter a new college for whatever reason? What skills are the most important to master? What resources do you need? Can you learn this on your own? I think that's a good question.
Yeah, I think it just depends on. I guess just your level of knowledge and your level of skill already. I think definitely having some sort of foundation in biology or something, or anatomy, or even just starting off with that and just starting to just draw things that you find in textbooks or things that you find online, and just getting used to, I guess, what the structures are meant to look like, what each illustration, how people are laying out their illustrations, how people are communicating the complex ideas. And I guess one of the main things with illustration is that you can't trust one reference when it comes to medical illustration, because you can look at one and it could have been done by someone who has actually got something wrong, and something's in the wrong place, or you've got an artery that's just completely in the wrong place, or part of the heart which is just not right. So I think there's just a great value in having loads of references, and maybe just not having one textbook, maybe having a couple of anatomy textbooks, and also maybe kind of biochemistry or like a basic kind of cell anatomy textbook, things like that, just so that you can start kind of learning about it as you're going along, because it is, the whole human body's like crazy. So there's so much to learn. But I think just find what, if you're interested in kind of like gross anatomy, so if it's more looking at muscles and organs and stuff, then definitely find what you're most interested in and try and focus on that, because if you try and do too much at once, your head might explode.
Yeah.
And then I guess it's working out, are you wanting to keep it traditional medium, or are you wanting to go into digital drawing and painting, or are you wanting to go into 3D? And then kind of how do you start? It's all the decisions that you need to make, like which program you want to use. Will your computer still be alive if you try and do all these 3D things? So I think it's just working out exactly what you're wanting to do, and then just breaking down all the steps of, I guess, what you want to achieve as well. From are you wanting to go into becoming a professional animator, a professional illustrator, or if you're just wanting to kind of expand your illustration, your kind of general illustration repertoire, I guess.
Yeah.
But references are the best, I think.
Yeah. Would you say that, because I've noticed several, I mean, no specific one comes to mind anymore, but I have seen some online, like, I guess they're, it's kind of like a, like it's a site that's dedicated to, or there are sites that, for example, kind of have cadavers moving in 3D space, or maybe 3D models that are, well, I'm not really sure how anatomically accurate they are, but they, I guess there are a lot of resources online that seem to kind of also help provide like standard reference that I'm hoping would be kind of accurate in 3D. Is that something that that you as a medical illustrator draw from also, or?
Yeah, the app I mentioned earlier, the 3D for medical, that's number 4 medical. Their app I use quite a lot for just general reference and to kind of refresh my mind on it as well. They've got, I can't remember how much it costs to buy the app, but you can try the free version and just look at the skeleton. But they've also got courses and stuff.
Cool.
So you'll kind of go on it and you'll have people who are teachers or that, and they've kind of made their own like courses, and they're navigating around the body and teaching you about it as they're kind of going through it. So I feel like that's a really good resource if you're more of a kind of 3D learner as well. I'm sure there's many others out there, but that's kind of my go-to one. So that's the only one I can recommend because it's the one I've tried.
Oh, cool. Okay. Okay, so Munir asks who are some of the clients that you've worked with, If that's all right to ask.
Yeah, mainly it's I've had a lot of just surgeons or who else am I thinking of? People who a lot of the time it has been people who have come up with a new technique of doing something. I think that's something that comes up often. People go, I've got this new way of doing this and I need to illustrate it because I'm publishing my work in a journal. So
Like,
mhm. And then
oh, sorry.
sorry.
No. Go on.
No problem. And then also for people who are wanting to promote new, it could be a new medical device or tool as well. So come up with a device that could be as simple as like a dental tool, and they're wanting it in 3D
Yeah.
and see how it interacts with the human hand and stuff, and see how like ergonomic it is, and like so much better than the other ones. Or it can be more complicated devices such as something fitting a device fitting a graft into the heart or something like that as well. So yeah, I think a lot of it is more. I think that's why the industry is, I think, so strong, is because medicine and surgery and all this is really always there's always something new, there's always a new technique, there's always a new device. It's something that's really rapid paced, and therefore it's the same with medical animation and illustration. It's always going to be changing, and I think there'll always be clients there desperate for someone to create something.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, because I didn't even really I didn't realize that you also find yourself doing some hard surface modeling and things like that.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, so it can be something that's more like device based. So some people may find that they're doing a lot of kind of device based stuff. So it is something that I guess if you're used to 3D and animation and modeling, I think it's kind of a good place to get into as well, because I think for animators also wanting to go into medical animation, you're already kind of got over like a huge hurdle that I like already had of opening up Maya and getting terrified and closing it down. I didn't know what was going on. If you're comfortable in using 3D software in that, then it's kind of you've got a really good, strong background. So
cool. So would you, if in terms of, for example, if anybody here were interested in applying to university and have had experience with 3D, would that serve as a portfolio?
Yeah, I know that. I think certainly in some of them it would. I'm not sure about all of the universities. I know that one person who graduated quite a few years ago, he was already doing a lot of 3D work, and then he went and did the masters in Dundee just to get kind of the solid foundation in anatomy and everything, and went on to continue to do pretty much what he was doing beforehand, but just with more of an understanding and a better kind of background in the actual science and anatomy behind everything. So yeah,
well, that's
work for people coming from a 3D background as well, because someone already had. I'm sure people have.
Yeah, no, but that's I'm sure there are a lot of like people who've I'm sure there are a lot of 3D artists who'd be interested in taking this up. Maybe students graduating from high school or their first degree, who, for example, might not really be very skilled in drawing, for example, but then manage to become really good at 3D rendering, for example. So so that's encouraging. That's a good thing to know.
I'm sure if you went with a portfolio that had like amazing 3D renderings, so you'd be like, yep.
Cool. Nice. Okay, so there.
Yeah, I think I know I can only speak for the program that I've been on, so I can't speak for the other ones at all. But
right.
I think a lot of a lot of what goes into rendering and 3D work anyway is a lot to do with there's a lot of art that goes into that anyway. So
Right. Yeah.
you're already considering color, form, composition, and
So
lighting,
true.
all these things. So you've already got an eye for it. If you can't put pencil to paper so much, but you'll still be like leaps and bounds above many other people who are applying as well. So I'm sure it'd be cool for that.
Cool. There you have it, folks. So, yeah, awesome. Okay.
Starting to come in, and it's just starting to.
Oh, no worries, no worries.
It's gonna move.
It's all good. So SC asks again. Hello, Samir. Hi again, guys. How is your professional relationship with your clients? Is it more difficult than a regular client because of the complexity of the medical environment? Do you use a marketing technique? I guess to market yourself as a freelancer. And in terms of prices for work, to be a growing industry, the value of your work also increasing? Yeah.
So I think the professional relationship with clients, I think for that I guess it is a different kind of client. You might, if you're working in more of a creative animation environment, then you might get people who are coming with more of a loose-ended kind of, I want to do something that's about this, and kind of like just go at it and we'll see how it turns out. But I think with scientific work, it's very much, it has to be correct. So it is a lot of, I think there's a lot of going back and forth with the client, and I think that's kind of the value of storyboarding and creating kind of like mood boards and stuff really comes in and is really valuable, because it helps, because they can't, a lot of times they can't visualize it because they know it as the way that a doctor or physician would look at it. They can't see it in what color it should be, how it should look, what angle it should be shown from. So it's trying to find a bridge between what it needs to be telling, the story it needs to be telling, and making it look engaging so that people actually want to watch it and people are actually going to learn from it, and not just kind of tune out because it's not actually dynamic or interesting. So I think with clients, it's just, I've found that every client I've worked with has been really nice. Everyone's works with quite a lot of different people, and a lot of the time you might find that they're in a really, really huge hurry and they need something like now, or you'll find they're actually super busy and they might disappear for a few months and come back and be like, oh, I'm sorry, I've been really, really busy.
Yeah.
And you're just like, okay. So it's just, I think as long as you can have that dialogue with them, let them know, because I think it takes a lot more of explaining to say, this is what I do, this is the services that I'm providing you, and give them like all the deadlines and really break it down and be like, if we hit this mark, then we'll be able to go to the next stage. And just because I think a lot of them are not used to working with animators or creatives, so it's just a completely different world to them. So I think sometimes you just need to be as transparent as possible and just tell them up front, like, this is exactly what's happening. And especially when it comes to things like licenses and copyright licenses as well, I think a lot of the time they can assume it's like, oh, it's just like buying an artwork, it's mine now. It's like, no. It's still property of the illustrator, and we need to talk about a license agreement and then talk about pricing from there. I think it's just really valuable just to have this chat within like the first 2 emails, I guess. So I can't remember the rest of the questions now.
It was I think you pretty much nailed them all. But in terms of marketing, I'm curious. Do you always work with actual medical practitioners, or is it possible to find where, for example, you might communicate with a medical representative or someone from I don't know, the marketing department of a pharmaceutical company.
Yeah, so sometimes it will be that sometimes it'll come through like a marketing company. So they'll have the client and they'll be talking to the client and I'm just dealing with them. So sometimes you'll just have the middleman kind of working between the two, which makes,
Oh, okay.
I guess, it's not really more awkward. It just takes more time because then you're waiting for feedback, go through someone else. So, but yeah, I've had quite a lot of people just from different marketing companies who've been looking for someone because often people will get in touch with them rather than actually seeking out a medical illustrator or animator themselves. So.
Oh, cool. In terms of turnarounds, for example, is there any? Well, have you ever done any freelance illustration or animation that wasn't medical?
Yeah, like just in terms of like general illustration and stuff.
Yeah.
Not 3D stuff, but I've done kind of drawings of dogs and like,
oh, cool.
Like
cool.
Or like people want gifts for someone and I'll kind of do a drawing for them. So.
Oh, okay.
But not so much not like publication-y kind of stuff. But I don't market myself as that, I guess, because I think my workload at the moment is manageable for me right now. And if I started myself as being able to do all these other things as well, I'd probably
for sure.
a wee bit swamped.
Yeah. But since you mentioned animals, I've been wondering also if has there any been like do veterinary practices count as have there ever been like have you found have you yourself or do you know of anyone that's ever had to do a project for that involved like an animal?
Yeah, no, it's quite common for some people decide to go specifically into like medical and like human, or some people like to become more general, so just terming it as scientific illustration and animation. So that would include kind of veterinary illustration, animation, and for myself, I've done a few projects with a veterinary company, and I love doing that.
Cool.
So it'd just be more, and because it's really interesting as well, because you get to kind of, in your head, you get to compare the anatomy because everything's kind of made up of the same stuff, but just
yeah.
So I just find I find animal anatomy really fascinating, so I love doing that. So I've done a few different things, but I'd definitely like to do more.
Yeah. Yes. Is that something in terms of education? Is that something that gets covered as well? Usually, like I don't know, comparative anatomy maybe, or like is emphasis also put into like the different animal species and I mean, have you ever did you take that up as well in uni?
No, I didn't. There is I'm trying to remember where the course is. There is one in Europe, and it's more of a scientific illustration course, and they do more towards the animal anatomy as well. I can't remember if it's in Zurich. Yeah, it's Zurich University of Arts and Accreditation. I think they do a lot of more kind of animal illustrations and different things like that as well.
Oh, cool.
They're a very cool one as well.
Nice. Okay. Hello, Thanos. Hello, Ni Hao. Hello, Neil. Oh, Mi Hao has has a question. He says, what is your creative freedom in medical visualization? I'm sure that there's a part of I'm sure there's a part that there are things that need to be made correctly, and when it comes to the scientific aspect. Okay, so basically, I think he means if you need to adhere to so accuracy is obviously a constraint, right? So things need to be represented just as they are. So where do you find like opportunities for your own like individual expression in your projects?
Yeah, I think the good thing about it is a lot of the time the science part is, I guess it has to be accurate, and that's great, but a lot of the times you can be experimental with how you display the information, and a lot of the actual look and feel of the animation is all your choice, I guess. So you've got you kind of get to decide on that through storyboarding and using color palettes and trying to give the client different options of how this can be displayed as well. So I guess that's where the kind of creative part comes in, and you get to try and problem solve of what's the best angle for this to be, and what colors will work best with that, and how should I guess you can't model it differently, but you can work creatively with your texturing and lighting and everything. So.
Yeah, kind of in the kind of the digital photography of it.
Yeah,
cinematography. Yeah,
and I guess
cool.
I guess like the pace as well. You could have.
Yeah.
I think the pace has a lot of impact as well. If someone's got this brand new product, you want it to be kind of really fast and like hard hitting, like it does this. Whereas if it's it have a completely different feel if you introduce something very slowly, and maybe it'd be more to do with maybe like a delicate procedure or something. You could like really like draw it out and make it slow and kind of look at. So I guess it's just all the different things that you get to think about when you're thinking about an animation, that you still get to do that. You just don't get the freedom to, I guess, model it in crazy ways.
That's cool. And I guess, it's not really, I wouldn't say it was that very different from conventional 3D work anyway. Most of the expression comes in the composition and the and the post. Like what's post like for you? Like how much work goes into post production for a medical animation, for example?
Yeah, probably. Yeah, quite a bit as well. I guess a lot of it. I guess there's a lot of. It depends on what the client wants, but it can include quite a lot of kind of labeling or like text on page. So like working with like typography and things like that as well. Yes, a lot of. I guess when it comes to 3D stuff, I find myself, it might for other people, but for myself, it never turns out perfectly when you want it to. It'll kind of come out, and then you still need to go in and do quite a lot of post. And I use that.
Yeah.
Just like tweaking colors, kind of making it look a bit more exciting than what the rest.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of like I guess like an absence of samples that you have to make up for it, because you can never really have the ideal amount when you're pressed for time, things like that, I guess.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Hi, Michael. Oh, sorry.
I guess there's quite a bit of I guess quite a lot of motion graphics kind of techniques and stuff.
Yeah.
When it comes to medical animation, or just like 2D animation as well. I think a lot of kind of informatic style animations really work well for giving information about medicine to the public or patients.
Yeah.
It's really useful. So
cool. Have you ever had a project that kind of put like a more I don't really know how to put it, but I saw this one video on YouTube some time ago, where basically they were trying to explain how a particular, well, I'm not even sure if I should say, I'm not even sure if it's a nerve cell anymore, but they were trying to explain this one thing, for lack of a better, I mean, I don't want to say the wrong thing, but it was basically, it was a part of the brain that transferred, that would carry oh my god, the more that I try to recall, you know what, I'm just gonna say that it's
Think of the brain as something, it's fine.
yeah. So it was this part of the brain transferring something from one end to the other, and they personified this thing. So it was this whole video of this. They gave him a name, and he was like, it started off with him. Let's say he was a nerve, and he was watching TV in his apartment. He walks out into the street, and he's like he looked like a molecule with appendages, basically, and he was moving across the street, and they were kind of using that as like as a visual metaphor for what it was doing inside the brain.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever had any like projects that were as quirky as that?
Oh, I've not, unfortunately. I like one though.
Yeah.
I think that quirky.
Yeah, but yeah. Well, that's oh, sorry. Annie says, "Are there any professional associations for medical illustration?" Yeah.
Yeah, there's in the UK there's the Institute of Medical Illustrators, which is a combination of medical illustrators and medical photographers, and there's also the Medical Arts Association, which is based down in London, but that's another UK one for medical illustration. There's one called BIOMAB, which is based in Belgium, and that's a kind of combination of art and science as well. And there's also the American Medical Illustration Association called AMI, and they're a pretty big establishment because I think they've got like a good big community over there as well. So I think that's the main ones. I think.
Cool. Yeah, I think I've come across, like, I've read about AMI.
Yeah.
And I think they also like offer, they can certify you, right? They offer some kind of certification. So yeah, so for Ajoy says, I'm a 3D animator in India. What's my scope of work on the medical field? Yeah, so I guess what he means is could a 3D freelancer find work in some branch of the medical industry? But then to add to that, if you were a 3D freelancer, is it possible to bypass university and apply for some sort of certificate-based training, and then take a test and receive certification if you make it?
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure with all of the associations and everything. I know that most of the postgraduate degrees, they do require you to have your undergraduate degree. So I think I'm not sure about ways of entry as well. In regards to experience and stuff, it might be something that they would consider, but I'm just not sure.
Okay. What about so is it would it be possible, for example, for Ahoy or Ajoy to find a project that belonged to the medical industry, but for example,
I think definitely. I think like I said earlier, I think it's just making sure that it's accurate. I think that's the hardest part, and I think sometimes it may be useful if you don't have such experience in the kind of medical or scientific field, if you try to maybe communicate with someone who is part of that field, or try and if you're lucky enough to have a friend who does that, and then you can kind of have a discussion with them, and they can kind of act as your advisor, like, does this actually look correct, or am I look off? It's just making sure that your work's been checked, or you've at least looked at resources or like lots of other animations that are similar, and you're kind of looking for common themes and common structures and trying to work out from there what is and what's kind of what it should be looking like, I guess.
Yeah.
So I definitely think that people are able to make some types of illustrations similar, some sort of animation similar, but it's just a case of just looking and referencing and making sure that what you're doing is correct. Because I think having more animations and illustrations out there for medical purposes that are correct, the better it is for people to understand, and for people not getting misinformation about procedures or things like that. So
right. Okay, so hope that answers your question.
Hope so. Sorry.
No worries. Mihao asks, are there any other 3D visualization fields which are close to medical visualization, and have you ever tried anything like that?
No, I've not gone into any other fields. Yeah, I think
like you
it's kind of starting off on this one. I'm just going to stick it through and just I think I'm just constantly learning myself and trying to develop my skills. So I think I look at a lot of different fields. I look at a lot of kind of things on the internet, like people's like daily renders and stuff, and for inspiration, like different motion graphic stuff. So not kind of had projects to do with other things, but I definitely look at a lot of other people's work constantly.
Yeah. Is there some sort of are there like online communities that are made specifically for medical illustrators and animators, or like, are there like maybe 3D forums that threads that are
We've got there's not really a website or anything with forums that I found anyway. We've got like a close group of us have got a bit of a Facebook group going on that people can apply to join into, and if they're interested in the field of medical animation. I know that there's another medical illustration group on Facebook. I think there's a few different Facebook groups, but yeah.
Cool. Okay, so I think we'll take this last question, and then I think we kept you long enough. Wow, it's almost an hour and 30 minutes.
I need to go have my dinner.
Flies. Yeah. Okay, so all right. So there are two last questions, yeah, and then we'll have to cut it off there, guys. So Daphne asks, how many programs do you know, and what are they?
Right. So I use Photoshop, Illustrator. I use that a lot, and then Maya, ZBrush or ZBrush, whatever you like to say. And then when it comes to like CT data and stuff and visualizing that, there's a couple of different programs for that. But I use one called Invisalius for that, and that takes the CT data and then translates it into a 3D model. for exporting into another 3D program. And I use my iPad a lot with Procreate. I started doing most of my illustration work on my iPad because I got
cool.
That's my main reason, and it's a great program. And I love working with like the Apple Pencil and that. So I like it.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of really good stuff about Procreate.
Yeah, I love Procreate. It's fab. I'm trying to think of anything I use. Probably quite a few things, but I can't think of them off the top. They're the main ones anyway. They're the important ones.
Cool. And that's a lot already, actually. So,
oh yeah, After Effects.
Right, yeah. And Premiere, yeah. Okay, Mihao asks, okay, this is, so maybe this one last question then.
Cool.
What do you find, sorry, this is from Samir, what do you find the most difficult about medical animation and illustration?
I think it is the getting it right, and I think a lot of the times it does go back and forth a few times with the client, and it's a case of trying to work out exactly what they're wanting. So when it comes to illustration, I often just say to them, can you just scribble on top of it so that I can understand exactly what you're visualizing in your mind, because I can't quite see what you're seeing. Yeah, I think it's just complicated information, and trying to understand it yourself, and then also trying to portray that information in the way that anyone looking at it can understand as well. So yeah, I think it's just making something that's really complicated and just laying it out so that people can understand it, depending on who it's aimed at. But I think generally, if you're making something, I think most people should be able to understand it by looking at it for a few minutes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, so I think we'll end there. Mihao asks if you do your own research when you work on your projects, and do you rely on? We talked about this earlier. The answer is yes. Yes. No, I don't know. I'm sorry, but we're gonna have to end the stream now. So thank you guys for joining us. And before, if you want to learn more about Emily, you can visit her at emily.mcdougall.com. Let's have Ivona add that in the comments. Yeah, check out her work. She's got some really cool videos on YouTube that you can find on the site as well. And yeah, on behalf of everyone here, thanks for taking the time, Emily.
Thank you. Thanks.
And yeah, it was nice having a chat with you.
Yeah, it was great. Thank you very much for inviting me.
Yeah, thanks for coming.
Awesome.
But yeah. Okay, so thanks a lot, you guys, and don't forget, if you work in 3D and could do with little, could use a little render farm horsepower, hit us up at GarageFarm.NET with a message, and type the word Emily and your email address, and from there, yeah, we'll set you up. So thanks again for watching, and yeah, have a great weekend, everyone. All right. Bye.
Bye.